All right, good morning. It is Wednesday, September 24th, and today we're going to build a ruin. I need a little ruin thing for the Death Wizards campaign mission that is tomorrow, so I'm going to build one. Uh, Before this video begins, though, I will say I have a calendar, a military history calendar, that gives me a day, something that happened today in history. And let me just let you know that today is a remarkably boring day in military history, apparently. This is the this is what is today's event. Union General Henry Slocum is born. A random general in the Union Army was born. That is our event of the day for military history. I know this has nothing to do with the channel or anything really, but my goodness, nothing happened in September 24th in all of history. Nothing other than a random general was born. Alrighty, so, like I said in the intro, we're going to build a ruin today. I got some random blocks here that I cut on my Proxxon. If you don't know what a Proxxon is, it's actually a company. They make a lot of different products, but whenever someone says a Proxxon, they're referring to this product right here. I am not in any way monetarily or otherwise affiliated with them. I will put the link in the description in case you want to get one. I don't know how much they are these days. When I bought one, it was about $100. I imagine, all things considered, they're probably more expensive now. I would apologize for that, but it's not my fault. So, these are some blocks I cut on the Proxxon. You could cut them by hand. There's nothing wrong with that. It just takes a little bit longer, and I have done so in the past. I did not count out how many of these are. I didn't even cut them for this project. I just cut them every now and again, and when I want to do a project, I grab them. Hopefully you can still hear me over this horrendous noise. This, I'm just roughing the blocks up a little bit. Since this is going to be a ruin, we don't want the bricks to be perfectly shaped. There are a bunch of different ways to do this. Here you can see the difference, what we're looking for when we're done. Let me find one I haven't. All right, so this is the freshly cut, and that's the freshly rolled between Greg's hands. That's what we're looking for. We don't want this. So I'm just going to do this, but yeah, there are a bunch of different ways to do this. If you live by yourself and with no pets and no one who's going to get angry with you, you can put these in a coffee can with some rocks and shake the heck out of it. Spouses, significant others, children, pets, pretty much any sentient being that is in your house will complain, however, if you do that around people. It is the worst noise known to man. The other way you can do it is lay them out and roll a ball of aluminum foil on them. I don't like that method because it takes a long time. This method works just fine for me, so that's what I'm going to do. And just keep, if you encounter one in the middle of your project, you can always just roll it yourself in the middle there. But I'm going to try to get them all done before the project begins. And I'm sure I've missed a couple. I see one right here. And doing them in a bunch like this means that they bump into each other and will kind of, give each other little nicks and bumps and stuff. So, once you're done with that, you need to lay out your ruin size. And because I didn't count these bricks out or anything, I just grabbed them out of the bucket of bricks. I have no idea how big this thing is going to be. So I'm just going to lay it out. I'm just going to lay out some bricks and see what I think might be appropriate here. What is this? I missed one. I need it doesn't have to be too tall because, this is for 28mm miniatures, so it doesn't have to be overwhelmingly tall to stop line of sight. But maybe if we do something like this. And I went 3 down. What is this? 7? I went 3 down over there. Go 5 down over here. And then something like that. That's too many. Yeah, something like that. Ooh, off camera. Nice. There we go. Do something like that. And I think I have roughly a good amount of blocks to make this reasonably tall. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to stack them up, alternating, like this. And this you don't have to do it this way. I like to do it this way because then I don't have to make permanent decisions right now. I'll do it this way and then come back and glue them. You can glue them as you go, but I like to kind of fiddle with it and decide what I want to do and then make final decisions with glue. Well, so we'll just go around here. This also isn't a perfectly flat surface, so could have made a better decision in that regard. But just keep stacking them up here. I promise you guys can stack up. This is a little fiddly, and if you were gluing at the beginning, you would avoid this, but nonetheless. So then we will go like this. And that, honestly, is probably about tall enough. We're going to go a little bit taller in the corners, though, because I have some basswood strips here, and I'm going to make like a little, like a second floor, essentially, sticking out from there. So gives the ruin a little bit more character. But I'm going to go ahead and do this whole thing, just following that exact same pattern there, and then gluing them down. I'll probably glue them to a sheet of cork, or actually it will definitely be cork, because I can rip the cork off afterward and reuse it for other things, because this ruin probably won't be permanent terrain, just something I'm making for this campaign in particular. So I will set up the time lapse and get to it. All right, so we've got that all done. The stuff you saw me use in that time lapse was, well, first of all, of course, I just used these and cut some of them up for the fallen blocks. And then some of the little bits and pieces that came off of that, I threw them on there. Then I just used some scrap cork from the Rhodes project in a previous video. That was for the last Death Wizards campaign board. I just used some of them and tore them up, and that's the brown scraps you see around there. And then I just used this random, I don't know what it is. It came from IKEA, I think, but it's just this like medium grain sand, or I think it's for balsa trees technically. But I'm just using it as sort of gravel or rubble or whatever. And I just scattered that around, and then I'll obviously paint this. But I'm just going to do some finishing touches here. So one, I've got a little bit of extra cork on the side here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. I don't want my cork overhanging the edge of the building. And if this were going to be for a more long-term thing, or if I was, if I was going to build, if I was going to build it, I mean, we may use this in the future, but it'll probably just go on my shelf after we use it for this campaign. If I was going to have it be in the club's collection as like everyday terrain, I would go a little more in detail, I think, on this. I'd rough up some more of the bricks. I'd poke some more holes in the bricks. One of the things I really like to do is if you find just a place where bricks meet, you just stick your pencil in there and just kind of do this. And that creates some nice, easy to use, easy to do damage on walls. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of rough up the corner or the edge here. I don't want it to be perfectly square, so I'm just going to do this. This is messy, but I knew I was going to vacuum the table at the end of this project anyway, so I'm not super worried about it. Just be careful not to cut yourself, obviously. If you're a child, get your parents' permission before using a tool like this. I'm gonna grab this one. It's a little easier to use on when it's flat. And just gonna come down. Just want it to not look like a straight line, basically, and I want to taper it down to the ground so there's not this big lip where the rubble starts, essentially. That ought to do. And that's a little too regular, so I'm just going to bump some of the bits off here. I think that'll do. Again, this is for a one-off campaign. Not super worried about it. But, yeah, so now you can see there's a nice taper down to the... Maybe you can't see, actually. Here. If this is the... Surely we can do better than this. On this big budget YouTube channel. That was a joke, if you're curious. So there you go. You can see the taper down to the edge here, which will be how it will sit on the table. Then I was gonna say I'm gonna let this dry, but there's not a lot to let dry. Just the wood glue, which is probably mostly dry at this point. It was laid down pretty thin. Used hot glue to connect the tiles just because it dries really fast and is nice and solid. It's not gonna break off. Again, if this was gonna be permanent terrain, I would worry about these little bits of overhang here. They're easy to remove. You just grab the edge with a knife and pull them off. And if you damage the foam underneath while you're doing it, it's just more damage. But I'm not worried about it. This is going to be seen for all of an hour and a half and then gone again. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be back in this after this or not. You'll either see me in a minute doing something else or the outro. All right, well, that will do it for this episode. I got into editing, and the video is already about 13 minutes long, and that's good enough for me. I didn't get to anything else today. I may get to something else later, but I do have to cut the episode off at some point, so I'll cut it off here. But either way, I am quite happy with how this turned out. I'll paint it tomorrow. That will be probably most of tomorrow's video. Maybe some recap of Thursday, but that might go into Friday's video. Who knows? And then, of course, we have our 40K tournament on Saturday. Yeah. But like I said, pretty happy with how this came out. Paint it tomorrow, and then we'll play with it that night. One thing I did want to mention, the time-lapse, because the time-lapse is obviously a time-lapse, can be a little misleading as to how long things took. That time-lapse was 10:1, shot in 10:1, so it runs for about just under 2 minutes. So the whole process was about 20 minutes. I think it's important to say that just so people can get an idea if they're going to do something similar, how long it's going to take them. Obviously, I already had the materials on hand and ready to go, so that made that easier. The blocks were already cut. That's probably another 10 or 15 minutes with the Proxxon, maybe 30 or 40 with a knife. Maybe not, maybe faster with a knife. I haven't done it with a knife in a long time, so. But, you know, once I had all the materials out ready to go, the actual building it itself was 20 minutes, give or take. So, if you're going to do something similar, keep that in mind for when you're budgeting your time. But that will do it for today. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would encourage you to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you tomorrow.